morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and this is Gaming Redhanded, where I play games that I find interesting. Right now, we are still working through the patch notes. We're going to be checking out the Warden class that's coming out because it's on my list of classes I'm going to consider playing this league, just because they got new stuff in their Ascendancy. So, I'm going to be looking at the trees, looking at the changes they've done. As you know, Warden is now the new raider. They completely took the radar out of the game. And I'm going to look at the tree and then see what they have to offer and see if there's a gem I want to pick for this. Because as I was saying in my last video, I want to stick to some kind of damage over time. That means ignite, bleed, poison, but most likely ignite or bleed. So let's go through this starting from, we'll just start here. So we got evasion, any chance to ignite on this side here, evasion, chance to freeze. So these nodes here, evasion and tinctures. So we'll go with this. So evasion, chance to ignite, Oath of Summer. Hits you would ignite, instead scorch. You can inflict an additional scorch on each enemy. Scorched enemies have their elemental resistance lowered by 30% based on the fire damage of the hit for about 4 seconds. And then you can stack that twice now because scorch now stacks. That's pretty cool. I don't think there's any other way to stack Scorch, so this is actually a pretty strong node. What else here? Increased duration of evasion. Sorry, increased evasion rating, increased duration of elemental ailments on enemies. And then we have here Avatar of the Wilds. So these all connect to this. So basically you can get the Avatar of the Wilds any 2-point combination, right? Or you can go wild and, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, like you really want to do something crazy like that. But I don't think you'd want to invest in all three of them. So Oath of Winter, these are all going to be same. This is going to be Ignite, Freeze, Shock, right? Enemies you freeze remain frozen for at least 2 seconds. Hits that fail to freeze due to insufficient freeze duration inflict Horror Frost. And freeze lowers, so that's just freeze. What's Horror Frost? Horror Frost lasts 10 seconds and can be inflicted multiple times, each refreshing the duration of an existing Horror Frost on the target. Each Horror Frost causes freeze duration on the target for about 20%. All Horror Frost is removed, the target is frozen. That's interesting. It's an actual freeze promotion build to get the target to freeze, but I doubt it'll work on bosses. I mean, I guess you can technically freeze bosses, but it takes a while to get there, so maybe you can get it up there where it's worthwhile on bosses, but I don't know how important it is to make sure I freeze the target. I guess it's good as a defensive layer, but I don't really want to build around freezing. It's interesting though. It's interesting. And then for the shock one is maximum effective shock is 2% increased damage taken. You can apply up to 50 shocks to a target. That one's pretty cool. So this is Oath of Spring is pretty cool. Oath of Summer is pretty cool. This one's interesting, but it's I'd have to play it. I can't think of a single ice build I'm interested in playing, so you know, it doesn't really call to me. And then Avatar of the Wilds grants level 20 Unbound Avatar skill. Gain 1 Unbound Fury when you inflict an elemental ailment or hit on an enemy, no more than once every 0.2 seconds for each type of ailment. Cannot gain Unbound Fury while unbound. Your hits always inflict freeze, shock, and ignite while unbound. 80% more elemental damage while unbound. An Unbound Avatar requires 100 Unbound Fury to use and causes you to become unbound for 10 seconds, which has no effect beyond those listed here. This is a crazy node. Crazy strong. 80% more elemental damage while unbound. Unbound itself is this Unbound Avatar skill, which is you gain Unbound Fury while that state is on, and then when it hits, and then causes your hits to freeze, shock, and ignite. Like it's really cool. I think a pretty strong elemental build for this, and you don't really have to do tri-elemental with it either. I mean, I guess you could, but I think it'll still work without doing tri-elemental. I don't think this really promotes tri-elemental like the way this is set up here. It promotes picking a path, right? Because I mean, I guess you could. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess you could do tri-elemental, right? Or then you forgo all defensive layers. Let's check out the other side real quick before I start theory crafting too much. Chance to suppress and evasion rating, which is pretty good. Knock off 10% chance to suppress here. Grants level 20 bark skin skill. Adopt the power of the forest, gradually covering your body in bark. Getting hit by enemy attacks causes bark to be removed. You take reduced damage from physical attack hits, the more bark buildup, but higher chance to evade when less covered in bark. Interesting. It's kind of like a flesh and stone based on armor and evasion, right? So let's see. So as you get more bark buildup, you reduce damage taken, and then as you take more damage, as you lose bark from getting hit, your evasion rating goes up. So it's an interesting ebb and flow of a defensive skill. I have to see it in action to see how I feel about it. Minus 15 fire, cold, and lightning damage taken for spell per hit per bark. Prevents 2% of spell suppressed damage per bark below maximum. Lose 1 bark when hit by an enemy spell. So you would have to take all of this to make this worthwhile, because this is pretty strong. Minus flat damage is pretty strong, especially since it's per bark, and it doesn't even say how much what the max bark is or how long it takes to get there. And it doesn't really say these two answers, but this, if you take this, you better take this. So this is 4 points allocated there, no matter what, right? And then let's see over here. This is where tinctures, right? So this is increased evasion rating. Tinctures apply to have 10% more increased effect. These are all the same, right? Okay. Endurance fusion. Tincture effects linger on you for 0.5 seconds per mana burn when the tincture was deactivated, up to a maximum of 6 seconds. Tinctures applied to you have a 30% less mana burn rate. Interesting. And then you can have one additional tincture active. Tinctures also apply to ranged weapons. I don't know if tinctures are strong enough to justify any ascendancy points into them, especially since this sounds crazy. Like if you're going to play Warden, you're getting this, period, right? I don't know how strong tinctures are to be like, all right, if I get 2 of them, does it equal this crazy ass node? Which I don't think it does. I don't think it equals stacking Scorch. I don't think it equals stacking Shock. Horror Frost is to be determined how strong that really is. But for sure, I don't know if any tinctures rival this. I'll have to look at tinctures to see, because when tinctures came out, melee was still a dead play style, you know, for all but the sadist of us who play this game. So I didn't look at tinctures at all. They were like trash items. Picked them up if I did pick them up, and I just dropped them immediately, right? I think I picked them up and ran it once just because there was a challenge for it, but I could not care less what tinctures were doing back in what was it, Wildwood League, whatever it was, when they were introduced. Now it's a different story. I gotta actually look at it. So far, like, this is an interesting one, because I got to see how this functions in game. Like, even just reading the description, it's like, I don't know how many bark there is. I don't know how long it takes to stack bark. I don't know how strong that actually is going to be. Do I put this on? I can forego all defensive layers with it. It gives me suppression, but I still have to cap suppression. So, you know, it's interesting though, because I like this part of it. And then, you know, Avatar of the Wild I like, and this is just a matter of like, you go into Frost, Shock, or Ignite. Which one are you going to focus on at that point, right? I don't think it'd be worth getting all of them, because I think you should have some kind of defensive layer over here. And then tinctures, let's just look at tinctures. For one, I don't really know how tinctures work in terms of like their base mechanics. So let's read some of these tinctures here, right? So prismatic tincture increases elemental damage with melee weapons by 87%. I'm pretty sure that scales. Increased critical strike chance with melee weapons, 17% increased melee weapon attack speed. That's okay. 27% chance to poison with melee weapons, 94% increased damage with poison from melee weapons, 35% increased effect, 64% increased mana burn. I mean, okay, this is a 43-second mana burn every 40.43 seconds, last 6 seconds when deactivated cooldown. So I don't know how long you can actually get this to work without to make it worthwhile. Right, so let me read the patch notes real quick on tinctures. Tinctures have been added to the core game with adjusted mechanics. You can place a tincture in one of your belt slots instead of a flask. While tinctures is activated, it grants you powerful buffs to your melee attacks, but inflicts mana burn on you, draining your mana at an increased rate the longer the tincture has been active. Tinctures can be manually deactivated or will automatically deactivate when you run out of mana. You can inherently only have one tincture activated at a time. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so you can have deactivated one. No tincture can be deactivated for a time. No tincture can be active for a time. Like flash, tinctures can be magic or unique, but not rare. NPCs in town may now have tinctures available for purchase. So I was confused earlier. I thought tinctures like only for Warden, but I guess anyone can use a tincture if you find a reason to put it in your build, right? Well, anyone who's melee. I think Warden, what they allow you to do is use it as a ranged character and use 2, but I don't know how that works when, you know, there's a cooldown on them. So we'll see about that. Added new Blood-Soaked Blade Keystone passive to the southeast of the Duelist starting location. Blood-Soaked Blade causes tinctures to inflict weeping wounds instead of mana burn, draining your life instead of mana. Interesting, because then you can counter it with Leech. Interesting. The new Nature's Concoction cluster has been added to the south of the Ranger starting location. Nature's Concoction provides flasks adjacent to apply tincture to gain 2 charges when you hit an enemy with a weapon, no more than once every second. A new Perfected Formula cluster has been added to the southeast of Ranger starting location. Perfected Formula provides 15% chance for tinctures to not inflict mana burn and causes tinctures applied to have a 10% reduced mana burn rate. That might be a good one if you're going to really use tinctures like that. This is where southeast Rangers, deep on that side of the tree, deep in Ranger territory. A new practice reapplication cluster has been added to the east side of the Ranger starter location. Practice reapplication provides 25% increased tincture cooldown recovery rate. A new colloidal mixture cluster has been added to the northeast of Ranger starting location. Colloidal mixture causes tinctures applied to have a 15% increased effect and 15% increased effect if you've used a life flask recently. A new burst energy cluster has been added to northeast. Burst energy causes you to recover 15% of mana when you activate a tincture. Added a set of tincture passive masteries, and there's a 6 stacks of mana burn applied to you have no effect. Burst 6 stacks, huh? That's pretty good. That might be a necessity. 30% increased evasion when you have tincture. 1% increased flash charges gained per mana burn on you. Flasks adjacent to applied tinctures have a 10% increased effect when you get hit by an enemy with a recent weapon recently. When you've used or hit an enemy with a weapon recently, tinctures deactivate when you have 12 or more mana burn. Huh. Of this, I like this one here. I like the first 6 stacks. You have no effect applied, and then blast adjacent to tinctures have a 10% increased effect. If you like, this is one that you would also get if you got more than one cluster gone, but I think we'd prioritize this first. I like the Warden tree so far. I don't know how I don't know, like I wouldn't be able to play it though because I want to do damage over time, and because of the fact that this turns my ignite into a scorch, means it's not what I'm looking for, right? It would basically stop me from being able to ignite, which negates the function of me trying to do an ignite build this league. So if I were to jump into Warden, I would have to do a tincture build. I would have to literally build off tincture. So I would go Barkskin, Lessons of the Seasons, and then I would go, well, I would go this one, right? Go up here, because this is either you're going to use tinctures on a ranged weapon, or you're going to play melee. That's it. There's no other choices here. Either you're going ranged, then you're gonna go Season the Hunter and then experience Herbalist, or you could just be like, you know, I only want this, or I only want this. I don't care about having 2 tinctures, and then you can choose one of these, right? So I would probably it would probably be Shock. I don't know what I would choose here. I guess I would just go 2 tinctures. And I don't know what tinctures there are. Are there any available? I have to go look to see what other tinctures are available, because these ones here are not enough selection for me to figure it out. Found this on Reddit. Let's see here. So here's some samples of some tinctures they have here. So we've seen the poison one. Let's see. You've seen this one already. Seen that one. So there's only 3. This is the same ones. These could have been changed, but these are some of the tinctures that were available during the league. These are on the wiki. So let's see here. All damage can ignite, all damage can shock, all damage can freeze. These are all the unique ones. 25% critical strike chance against enemies that are full life. Bleeding you inflict on non-bleeding enemies become 30% more damage. That's kind of interesting. Bleeding hits always stun enemies. Like damaging hits always stun enemies that are full life. Culling strike hits inflict wither debuff, wither debuff, wither debuff. So these are scaling rolls here. So 67 wither debuff. Okay. Hit steal power charges, frenzy charges, endurance charges. That could be okay. Increased damage against enemies at low life. Just get culling strike. Killing enemy. I mean, I guess looks like 40%, right? I guess Killing blows against rare enemies have a 12%, 9 to 12% chance to grant one of their modifiers for 6 seconds. Interesting. This is interesting. I'm assuming this is rare shit though. 100. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's rare shit. This is basically a mini headhunter, right? Killing blow against rare killing blow against rare monsters have a 20 to 30% chance to grant one of their modifiers for 60 seconds. So this entire line here is probably a checkbox for a secondary. So if you do the 2 tinctures one, this could be one of them, right? All right, what else is here? Chance to explode fire damage. I'd probably use this if I was doing Warden and doing a ignite build, just because I wouldn't have, that'd be the only way to get corpse explosion. So these 2 segments here. So a pursuit, chase, and hunt for the headhunter. Kindling firewood tinder for ignite build. What else here? Leech. Killing bullets have a chance to shadow. If you do a frozen build, maybe. No. Onslaught. I guess this would be good for early game. We wouldn't be bad for early game. It's probably common as shit. Yeah, 1000. This would definitely be an early game tincture. Let's see what else. Cover enemies in ash on hit. This might be the secondary tincture by doing ignite build. It'd be this one here. Covered in ash. Covered in frost. Crush enemies. I mean, this is interesting. This would be good if you're just doing physical. Overwhelm. Damage penetrates fire resist. Consider that too. What else is here? Rage. Increased damage for each non-instant spell you cast in 8 seconds. I guess now that melee skills are changing, they're all cast and all that stuff, you have to activate them. I wonder if they start considering these, right? I mean, it says spells, but I wonder if there's an attack version to be considered, right? Phasing, overkill damage. Area effect, refresh bleeding duration on hit. I put an asterisk beside that one also. Mana per enemy hit. I guess that could work out. Mana per enemy killed. I mean, it could work out to give you some tincture sustain. What else is here? Poisons now. I don't know, it's hard to say. I look at tinctures now and I have to see them how they look now. But I get a feeling that if I played a tincture focused build on Warden, that I would reroll this by red maps. Just because I cannot tell how strong tinctures are gonna be. I cannot sit there and envision what this is gonna look like because I don't know how the new melee weapons scale properly. They're changing that. The skills are also being changed, and I don't know how bark skin works. Another variable there, so I don't know. There's so many I don't knows with Warden right now that it's hard for me to theory craft just because I don't know what the tincture is looking like, and I don't know. I just don't know how these keep up, and this confuses me. This one confuses me because tinctures have a global cooldown. So if I have an additional one active. So let's look at this. They get activated and they run, but then when they put everything on cooldown, right? That's what it said, right? Let's see here. You can inherently only have one tincture activated at a time. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so once you have deactivated one, no other tincture. Oh, okay, so the cooldown doesn't hit until after you deactivate. So I guess you could activate 2 of them. Can you activate the same one twice though? That's the question to ask. Can you stack them that way? I don't know. Hmm. But if I were to do a tincture build, I guess I have to look at some skills. If I were to consider playing this, I would probably consider, like, I wouldn't consider elemental hit because I played elemental hit before with a bow, right? But I would consider infernal blow. Never actually played that. Consider molten strike. Why not? Shield crush. I was considering shield crush for a couple leagues now, so I probably lean towards shield crush, right? What else is here? There's a tectonic slam. This case, consider using that, and there's also volcanic fissure. I was interested in volcanic fissure of shaking just because I like the way it was moving. But, being a transmog gem, it'd be kind of hard to get that for league start. It's hard to theory craft this just yet because I want to wait until I see the new skill tree come up in Path of Building. When Path of Building updates, I'll go through and try to plan this build out. But so far with Warden, like, I'm interested in Warden, but when I'm trying to do this league with trying to play a dot build, I don't think Warden would be a good choice for it. So, I mean, I probably could make it work depending on how the tinctures are, but I don't know if I want to do any build around tinctures just yet because it's not a mechanic I'm really gonna like messing with too much. But I will theory craft. I will look over the skills that I want to settle in on, and then once I do that, I'll definitely go through and make a path of building for each skill using either a gladiator setup or a warden setup, right? Well, that's gonna be it for today, though. Thank you guys for dropping by. I appreciate you as always giving me your time. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and support. That always helps out. Have yourselves a good morning, and if this is the only video you watch me today, a good afternoon or good night.